Hi, my name is Ellie Sutton.
And I'm Lillian Clark. We're going to talk about family, school relationships, in immigrant children's well-being, the intersection of demographic and school culture, and the experiences of Black African immigrants in the United States, written by Sarah Dryden Peterson.
And we'll start off with the summary portion. This article is very much about immigrant children, but it focuses especially on the experiences of Black African immigrants and the correlation between family and school relationships, and that relationship that just goes back and forth between the two. This article's research was based on two different elementary schools, one that was more conscious of the difficulties that Black African Americans face, and another that was a school who overlooked these students and kept them in the margins. So this was something that, was very interesting to read, and just getting those two different perspectives of the two different schools and how they treated their students. Something that probably happened was something that had been going on for years, or just little changes for years, both in the positive way as well as in the negative way. And so an interesting statistic from this article was about how 60% of children under the age of 18 are projected to be children of color within the school system. And I think this is just super interesting because these experiences that the students are facing in the school it's only going to get higher population, and so it is something that needs to be addressed and helped, and that's kind of what the article talks about as well, especially because it said that Black African immigrants often have higher education levels than other immigrant groups, yet they face the difficulties of trying to learn another language, and they can't express their intelligence because of that. And so that is something that was interesting.
So kind of like what she was talking about, this article really kind of dives deep into the types of relationships that schools and educators and administrators are building with parents, and it categorizes them in two separate groups, or types of power, I guess, or types of relationship. One was structural, which is just like the way that school programs and policies are structured to include the parents and involve them. So that could be like having meetings at a time of the day when parents aren't working and then they can come, or having really good communications with parents and a system for that so that they are involved. And then the other type of, I guess, relationship that the school can have with a parent is a relational power. And the goal with that is that the parents and administrators both have an influence to affect change in the other. So like administrators can talk to parents and give advice, or help them find resources that will change the way that the parents are helping in their school, in the kids' schooling. But also parents have the influence and power to say, hey, like my kid needs extra help in this, and the school has enough respect for the parents to listen to that and make changes accordingly. So I think that that's really important. And then in this article, the big city school, which was in Boston, the parents reported having a lot of problems communicating in that way with the educators. They didn't feel respected. They felt like they were being ignored or kind of pushed to the side. Whereas in the small town, the parents said that they had really good relationships with the teachers, and that they felt like they were important and cared for. And then the small school, I also thought it was interesting that they provided extra resources like food and clothes to help their students who were struggling, so that parents could support in other ways, instead of only having to focus on that.
Okay, we will now talk about the praxis portion. So something that I want to be able to apply in my classroom and in my life is especially in the classroom, is to build a strong relationship with the parents of my students, because I feel like that is where a lot of the issues can be addressed, if possible. Obviously, relationships are two ways, but if they see that I'm reaching out to them and I think that their opinion matters and that their say matters, then they are more likely to help with their children and help with the things that we need for them to help with. This especially is important when the administration has had troubles with the parents in the past, but if they see one single person who loves them and is willing to see eye to eye with them or even understand their culture and who they are, then there is a lot more progress made. I thought something really interesting from the article was talking about like the boxing gloves that sometimes is thought about between parents in the school, and that is something that I hope my parents never feel, and that I can just show that it's a safe place. I'm a safe place, someone to talk to, and someone to that they know believes in their kids and wants the best for their children.
Exactly. Yeah, I liked the example that they gave about focusing on attendance and making sure that the kids are there, and just showing that by being there, they are doing something good. And the parents, when they bring their kids, like, that is important, and that does make a difference. Yeah, so I liked that idea. And then I also thought it was so interesting that in this article, both schools had similar testing scores. So even though, what's it called? Maramec Valley had much better programs and much better supports for their marginalized groups, it didn't really make that big of an effect in the testing scores. So the children were learning, and they were learning better, and they were happier at school, and like the parents reported seeing good progress in the education, but it didn't change the testing scores, which I thought was so interesting. So I think that as a teacher, I just want to not focus so much or not stress about those testing scores, and just love all of my students as they are and help them to improve from wherever they are.
Okay, now we'll talk about the reflection portion. So I really love this article, and I thought it was really interesting, the comparison of the two schools and just seeing the stark difference between the two. And kind of just what I talked about earlier, I think it's the little and small changes that are made that really shape a school and a school's environment. And this can be something as small that starts with a single teacher, or it can be something big that starts on an administration level. But as we accept each person's differences and just try to love and understand and see from another person's point of view, that's when it really can change. So all in all, I really like this article.
I also really liked this article. I think it had super good points and really good ideas of how we can help and support our marginalized students and our EL learners. But there was one thing that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way, and it was some of the statistics about Black language learners' families compared to other ethnic and racialized groups, and it talked about how parents in this group are more or less likely to help with their homework or help reading or have high expectations for college. And I just thought that comparison was kind of like showing slight correlations that ranked one ethnicity and one, I guess, group of people above another. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting to me, and I am not sure that I liked that, because we talked about in class how it's not great to put all of the blame on a person's culture and their family, and it seemed like those statistics were kind of leaning that way. Yeah, but all in all, I also liked this article, and I thought it had good ideas and good ways to implement the things that we're talking about.